Hi, and welcome to Meetings in Math. You are here for congruent figures, and our essential question for today is what makes figures congruent? You are going to need your pen or your pencil, your Jaguar Jots. The page you should be on should say 2.1 on the top, and what makes figures congruent. And make sure that you have your growth mindset with perseverance and some self-confidence. We're going to begin by looking at some definitions. So congruent figures are figures that have the same shape and size. Both things need to be true in order for a shape to be congruent. Congruent figures have blank angles and sides that are equal and corresponding. Corresponding means that they match up. So if I was to overlay them, they would be in the exact same place. Angles are congruent when they have the same measure. So what we mean by that is the degree is the same. Side lengths are congruent when they have the same length. And we measure lengths in things like centimeters, feet, inches, miles, kilometers, and things like that. The symbol used to show congruency, I'm actually going to show you what it is made of first and then what that is. So since congruency means it's the same shape and the same size, shape is made by the tilde mark, that means similar, and the same size is made by the equal mark. And the equal sign means that they are the same size. And so the symbol that we use is a combination of those two. And so it's the equal sign with the tilde mark over it. Matching angles are called corresponding angles, and matching sides are called corresponding sides. So there we have our definitions. So for this first example, we're going to name the corresponding sides and angles of the figure below. This does not say that the figure is congruent, so we cannot use the congruent symbol when talking about them. And we're actually going to start with the corresponding angles first. So if I look at this, I can see that if I was to overlay these, A and F are the same. So we're going to start there. So when I talk about this angle, I say angle A, and that's how I read this. And this one, I'm going to write this angle symbol in a different way. And I put a little swoop through it, but it still is read as angle F. When we're using handwriting, sometimes we put the swoop through it so that it doesn't end up looking like an L. Sometimes in our handwriting that can happen. So we just put that little swoop through it to help us out. Either one is correct. It just depends on you and your own handwriting, how you're going to do it. You'll see that I'm going to use that swoop a lot. So A goes to F. So we're using corresponding angles. Angle A corresponds to angle F. And then we're going to go around in a clockwise manner and match the rest of them up. So the next angle I come to is B, and the next one I go to is G. And if we go around in a systematic way, we're going to find them all, and you'll notice that they are looking the same. For example, B and G look the same, and C and H look the same, and D and I, and E and J. So go ahead and finish writing those corresponding angles. Pause it, write them, and come on back. Check your answers with my answers. Make sure you had those correct. And now we're going to do corresponding sides. So in the same way that we did corresponding angles, we have to make sure that we're looking at them in the same places. So A and B we know as F and G, but we can also look at it this way. A to B is the same as F to G. So side length A to B corresponds with side length F to G. So there's two ways to do it. We could do it from the diagram, or we could look at here. A went to F and B went to G. It's usually easier to take it from the diagram though. So A to B and F to G, and then we can go around B to C. So if I went from B to C, then I can come here, G to H. C to D, H to I, D to E. Do you see how I'm always starting with that letter again? D to E is I to J. E to A is J to F, and I've closed my figure. So those are your corresponding sides and your corresponding angles. They are in the same place. If I was to overlap the figure, they would be in the exact same place. So once we have looked at corresponding. Now we can talk about, are they congruent or not? So congruent sides are marked with tick marks. This is an example of a tick mark right here, while congruent angles are marked with arcs. And you can see an example down below. So how can we tell that these two triangles are congruent? Well, if we can match up all of our corresponding sides and all of our corresponding angles, then we know that the figures are congruent. So let's go ahead and look at these. Let's look at A. Is angle A corresponding to another angle? And it is. It corresponds to D. Let's look at another angle. Let's look at angle C. Does it correspond to another angle? And it does. It corresponds to F. And then our last angle, B. Does it correspond to another angle? It does. And it's E. So far, we have all of our corresponding. So now we have to look at our corresponding sides and make sure that they are also congruent. We can see we have one congruent, one mark, and a 2 mark. But if they're not in the same order, meaning they're corresponding, then this thing will not be congruent triangles. So let's go around. We know A to D and B to E and C to F. So we can look at our corresponding sides. Did A to B goes to D to E. I'm going around my triangle this way. So A to B went to D to E. So that means it went around this way. And that's okay that they're going around in different ways, because it kind of looks like it's a mirror image, right? Like if I put a line here that I flipped it over. So A to B went to D to E, and this had one tick mark. BC went to E to F. On this side it has 2 marks. On this side it also has 2 marks, so that's a good move. So A to B, B to C. So now I need to close the triangle, so C to A. So I went from D to E, E to F, and now I need to close. So from F to D. Does it also have 1 mark? It does. So all the corresponding pieces are in place. Those 3 little dots right there, that means therefore. Triangle. And let's just go around in the order. So A, B, C. A went to D, B went to E, and C went to F. So triangle ABC is congruent to DEF. Okay, let's look at this figure right here. Are all of the angles congruent? That's rule number 1. Yes. Are all of the sides congruent? Nope. So this cannot be congruent. So I'd like you to write that in on your own. So we were okay here. We are not okay there. So even though they are the same shape, they are not congruent because the sides are not congruent. Let's look at this one. If I look at it, I can see that I have some congruencies happening. I have my right angle. I have this little 1 swoop, and I have this 2 swoop. So now it's a question of the sides. Does the 40 go between the yellow and the green on this side? Yes. And the yellow and green on this side? Yes. So that means they're corresponding. Did the 9 go between the green and orange and the green and orange? Yes. So they're corresponding. Did the 44 go between the orange and the yellow and the orange and the yellow? Yes. So they are corresponding. So in this figure, yes, these are congruent. And then we have to have our reason why. We always have to give a reason why. So yes, these are congruent, but our reason why is because 1, the corresponding angles are congruent, and 2, corresponding sides are congruent. So that's it for today. What I would like you to do is I would like you to write down 2 important things that you have learned about congruent figures and write that on the opposite blank page so that you have it ready to talk about in class. Thank you so much for joining us on congruent figures. And remember, be nice because everyone can always use a little extra kindness in our lives. I'll see you again real soon. Bye now.